for everybody coming tonight. It was a last minute thing. We got this room by luck because we were only supposed to be here once a quarter. So Venture Café said, hey, we got this open at 7 o'clock. I said, okay, we'll have a meeting. We got a great speaker. I'll call you a speaker even if he doesn't want to speak. I'll call Mike a great speaker. He's got a lot of great information to share. And then we got another guy with a medical invention made in St. Louis that we want him to show his product, and then we can open up the questions. Dyna Labs, Mike Pruett from Dyna Labs and gotthisidea.com, which is an awesome service to the local community, and really at no charge. $25 is not a lot from a lot of invention service companies that link licensing, licensors and licensees together. And he's doing this just as a community service because he wanted to give back to the community. So Dyna Labs is his company right down the street. And they have a medical, really cool, his team invented this really cool medical invention. I got to go through his company a couple weeks ago before Christmas, and I was really infatuated, or it's really engaging process in what you do there. So we'll have a 10-15 minute presentation about what he's doing, and then we'll open up the questions. I know you guys are here for medical or just for invention help or invention ideas, and we got a lot of service providers here that can help too with your questions. So I'll let Mike talk about I've got this idea.com, and then we'll talk about Dyna Labs Invention, their CBX analyzer. DBX analyzer. I haven't got that done. Don't get mad at me yet. So I've got this idea.com. You probably may have heard it on Camel X. Yep. They advertise on Camel X, and it's not one of those invention promotion companies that charge you $4,000 to help promote nothing that you have. This is real. So if you want to share a little bit about why you created it with your partner and what you do.
Sure. Hi, I'm Mike Pruett, one of the founders of Dyna Labs and one of the founders of Got This Idea. We took the, we took the mold of how Dyna Labs got going, the formula there, and we applied that to a different type of idea. We have been involved with some of the St. Louis area's economic development councils projects and programs, which certainly helped Dyna Labs get off the ground. We started out very small. We're a two-man operation. Now we're, if you ask our competitors, the premier laboratory in our testing space. One of the things we realized is neither one of the founding members could have done this by him or herself. And when I say that, I mean it sincerely. I'm a pharmacist, that's my undergrad. One of my partners is a chemical engineer, that's his undergrad. And my other main partner is a microbiologist. When the opportunity presented itself for a new laboratory in compounding pharmacy, I knew what the pharmacists were doing right and what they were doing wrong. Russ, the microbiologist, knew all about process and process technologies and what the pharmacist should be doing correctly. June, in his chemical engineering sense as well as his IT skills, helped us pull everything together. We took a swing as Dyna Labs and we won. But what happened a couple years ago, we read an article in a journal called Global Entrepreneur Monitor. It comes out of the UK. They had mentioned, their estimation is this planet with 7 billion people on it that we have has 400 million entrepreneurs and inventors, all of them looking for an outlet, all of them looking for resources. That's a lot of people. Think about what's going to happen by 2050. We're going to have 9 billion people on a resource-starved planet. We need to find some way to start creating jobs, create them now. The only way to do that feasibly is through entrepreneurs and people with inventions and ideas that are going to need other people to put them together. So we looked at the landscape, we looked at what we did, and we thought, well, why can't we put together a product that we can offer to inventors and entrepreneurs and help them find the resources that they need to bring their ideas and products to life. So that's kind of how the idea for Got This Idea got started. We also took a look at some of the pitfalls we've run into. Myself, I spent $4,000 as a pre-med student while I was at SLU trying to use Invention Marketing International to get one of my first inventions off the ground. Complete waste of time, complete waste of money. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. We want to try to prevent people from going through at this point. I know you got George Foreman with his Invent Help. You've got other, I call them scam artists out there that aren't going to help you out whatsoever, and we'll be glad to lighten your wallet. But what we want to do is we want to put together a crowd building site that helps people find resources like capital, prototyping. We've got a couple guys here from this, but Mike tonight, we talked with David earlier. We hopefully have some marketing expertise and folks to get out and help develop a particular product as a team. Some people might not want the team aspect, but might be able to benefit from, I don't know, maybe an investor type or maybe a little direction on where they might be able to find space for putting an office together. It's basically a site where the individual with the idea can ask for the help that he or she needs. It's $25 to list. It's an annual fee. We'll go out and try to find the resources to help you get your product going, and we feel that's a fair deal. We will not be asking for any type of like a crowdfunder might ask for a percentage of the money you raise. That's all yours. I can tell you that if we had to give up 5 to 7% of what Dynalabs raised, we wouldn't have a Dynalabs. It's capital, raising capital is dear, and you need to look at that as a very sparse resource. So far to date, we've got individuals from 47 different countries that are on the site looking and hopefully trying to offer their services, their expertise, their horsepower to the individual entrepreneurs and inventors that are out there. We're hoping that at some point the Got This Idea will become self-propelled and become a gathering site for inventors and entrepreneurs to go and see if there's resources available to help them get their idea off the ground.
That's great. So if a service provider or inventor wants to use your site, do they come to you tonight, or do they get on there to sign up?
Oh, sure, yeah. Talk to me tonight, or the easiest thing to do is to go and sign up. I will caution this. You're going to have one main question. We seem to be running into this a lot, and that is, how do I protect my idea? The simple answer is, give just enough information to get someone's attention. Don't give away the farm. My favorite example is, if you figured out cold fusion, just say that. Don't tell them how you do it. Okay, get an NDA in place, make sure that you can't get ripped off the best you can. Will it happen? Sure. People are people, some people are jerks. But for the most part, I think people that will go out there in earnest to help other people get started, hopefully it becomes a good community of like-minded individuals.
Yeah, and it started here in St. Louis, so it's great. Yes?
When they list on your site, does that start the 1-year clock ticking as far as eligibility to apply for a patent?
Oh, no. Oh, good question. No, not at all. No, it's just, look at it as a subscription fee. All right, we're going to do what we can to get you marketed. This has nothing to do with getting any patent. Now, what it does do, and this is a good question, is since this is a public forum, you've got a year from that first listing before you have to think seriously about getting a patent at least applied for. Good question. Yeah.
So, in our Inventors Association website is inventstlouis.org. You can, if you sign up there, you can always get updates for our future meetings, or if anything cool comes up, like Mike's great service to inventors, or creating a community. That's the most important thing, is a community with the venture capital and service providers and inventors. We don't have enough of that to help build our ecosystem. So, yes?
Are the service providers vetted at all, or anybody can go on for the $25 fee and post and search?
It runs the gamut. We have, I was speaking with Barb Zimmerman earlier. There's a gentleman that I know personally. He's been trying to get us to sell Dynalabs through his company for years. Okay, so I got all of them before the holidays, and when we started getting more and better inventions. We got some very Neanderthal inventions, basically idea stage. We got somebody like Barb, we got something ready to go. She's got the CAD and whatever she needs to get off the ground. We'll have students that are being directed from their professors to go out and help an inventor or an entrepreneur with whatever expertise they have. And we know this because we got called out of the blue right around Thanksgiving by an organization based in Canada that has 150 universities in their kit, okay? And those professors are looking for actual hands-on projects to give their business students instead of a case study out of a book. So you're going to have everything from a student to a professional. And, you know, probably you're going to have somebody like me going, hey, I think I can help you. You know, I just don't know when I'll be able to do it. But that's what to expect.
So the website
That's
is,
the website.
what is it again? So right now.
GotThisIdea.com.
So we'll link that to our inventors on our inventstlouis.org also. So any other questions about or got this idea? Yes.
So you mentioned a couple times inventors and entrepreneurs.
Right.
In our experience, those are two very different mindsets.
But they're both creative.
They're both creative.
Right.
One is, I've got a great idea I want to bring into the world. The other is, I kind of don't care about the idea, I want to run a business.
Yeah.
So
And they overlap too.
And well, that's sort of what I'm getting at. The people that are coming to the website, are the entrepreneurs seeking out inventors, or are they seeking out the same things that the inventors are seeking
The
out?
entrepreneurs aren't yet. That's something we hope will become part of what we call self-propelled.
Okay.
And not just entrepreneurs, but other companies looking for consumer products, for electronics, for apps, you know, that need to be developed. We're hoping that whatever idea is out there, somebody's going to help them develop it. There's a fine line between I've got an invention and I want to run my business, and it's where I think the distinction gets blurred a little bit. So we're just based on that GEM report, we're looking to help inventors and entrepreneurs if they overlap. That's just going to happen. Yes, ma'am.
One of the number one requests we get is, what do we do when it's time to market the idea? Do you go so far as to offer services or connections to services?
We try to get connections to go in and help you with their services.
Okay.
Yeah, we're taking a little different approach. At some point, we're hoping to hit critical mass. Right now, we're branding. We started advertising on October 31st. I'm sorry, October 30th. But like I said, we've contacted key people that know manufacturers throughout the state. We want to take that countrywide. It's going to take a little time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. I would suggest this. If you guys feel the need or would like to help other potential inventor wannabes, it doesn't cost a nickel. All you gotta do is register and go in and if you're browsing something, you're not gonna help this person out here or that person there. Please do. That's the whole point. We want to make this a great big community. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned 47 countries. It seems pretty widespread. Do you have like local chapters set up or anything?
Oh, it's just the one website. Once we
Yeah.
started advertising, it was the damnedest thing. We saw it start here in the Midwest, and we saw it getting bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, it's in Japan, and believe it or not, it's in Uzbekistan, Paraguay, Russia. I have no idea how I got over it, except that everybody's connected now. Hey, go here.
Great. So any more questions? We'll talk about his medical invention, Dynalab's medical invention, which is a really cool story. So I'll give you a brief biography of the invention, and then Mike can share the problem solution, how they created it. It's fascinating. The DVX, it's a point-of-use chemical analyzer, and it weighs about 3 pounds, and it analyzes injection eye drops in about 4 seconds, and for pennies at the cost of what pharmacies do right now. And it's more accurate, right?
Yeah.
Much more accurate.
Spot on.
And it saves lives.
Yes.
So I'll leave it at that and let you take over. So there's a problem that you saw, and then you guys have spent years on creating this DVX analyzer.
Yeah, pretty much. When we first started the lab, we had a lot of strategy sessions while we're getting the lab built out. It's not like opening a hardware store. You got to get FDA approval. DEA's got to come in and say, yeah, sure, you can do this. And while we're getting this off the ground, because what we're going to do is we're going to come in and undercut all of our potential competition. We're going to charge 1/3 what they were charging pharmacists. We're going to offer all 4 tests, which include a particulate matter, sterility, chemical identity and strength, and endotoxin. The other labs didn't offer particulate matter. This was now law. FDA was putting this into law. We were going to offer a 1-day turnaround because of the technology we're going to use, and that's manifested itself in the DVX. The other labs took up to 21 days. to get back information on something that might have a 2-day shelf life. And we were going to do it all online instead of paper, requests, and then get a bunch of, stack of certificates of analysis later in the month. And if you've ever worked in a pharmacy, pharmacists aren't good file keepers. So when the Board of Pharmacy comes in to inspect and make sure you had that sample tested before you dispense it to that patient, and you can't find that certificate of analysis, you're going to get your license possibly suspended, maybe revoked. So we did all this stuff to help the pharmacists get better and help your patients, basically. But during one of the strategy sessions, the question became, when your competition figures out what you're doing, what are you going to do to get ahead of them? Good question. I just looked at him in June. I said, well, let's just miniaturize our equipment and see if we can get it out to them as a suite of products. Well, we miniaturized the chemical analyzer. This is a really tough deal because you had to find a detector small enough and fast enough and accurate enough to be able to warrant the kind of attention we were seeking. Pardon me. Well, so we had this idea. We didn't have the money. But the city of St. Louis had come, we were in the incubator over on Washington Avenue. The city of St. Louis, Pat Bannister, rest his soul, had come by and seen where we were getting ready to launch in 2004. By 2005, he needed to come back and check on us, and we were starting to grow. We had some really cool things happen to us. It's a long story. But he asked us the magic question, what can we do to help you out? This is the city of St. Louis. I said, well, we need $150,000 to develop a proof of concept for DVX. Okay, he comes back a couple hours later with Rodney Krim and Bill Sutton and Otis Williams from the mayor's financial arm downtown. And we pitched our case to them. And the next thing I know, in a week or two, we're in front of the Board of Aldermen that are in charge of handing out grants, well, convertible debentures. So for $150,000 from the city, which was exactly what we needed to build the proof of concept, all we had to do was promise to stay in the city for 5 years. Well, it's 12 years now, 13, and to grow to 8 people. We have 95. And they wanted 1% of ownership in Dynalabs. Where do we sign? So we did it, okay? Never going to regret that decision. 3 iterations later, we got the DVX4. Let me get off the track here a little bit. DVX3 wound up on the episode of Nurse Jackie where she and her boyfriend sell all the drugs at the pain clinic. I made sure we got good placement. Anyway, so we got DVX4, and it's a rocket, and it's great in that pharmacists no longer have to make a 10-to-1 dilution for a drug that's really strong, so that you don't overwhelm the detector and the device. Now they just take a drop, you put it on the little platform, you close the arm, and the company that manufactures this for us has the one patent that we don't have on it. We've got 2 other patents in the device. What it does is the arm moves up and down, and either squishes the drop or stretches it, depending on if you've got a high absorbing drug, you don't want to have it a long pathway, you want it short, or if you've got a hard drug, you want a lengthy pathway. It does it in 4 seconds and for pennies on the dollar. What it does, it keeps patients from being killed. This dirty little statistic in pharmacy is that 1.88 people are harmed or killed per hospital per week because of an injection error coming out of the pharmacy. Think about that. Almost 2 people a week. And this is from the American Society of Health System Pharmacists. The former president of which is now the Dean of Pharmacy at St. Louis College of Pharmacy. Bruce and I are pretty good friends. I made sure that we got the stats correct, and that's right, almost 2 people a week. When those people are hurt, you're looking at almost $630,000 annually per hospital to intervene, stop the damage, extended patient stay, maybe even a readmission rate you're not looking for. You're looking at $500 to $600 million in known settled lawsuits between the 5,700 hospitals in this country alone every year. And starting in January 2016, the DEA weighed in. They're handing out multi-million-dollar fines to hospitals who aren't in complete control of the narcotics coming out of the pharmacy. Guess what the DVX does? It'll tell you exactly what the concentration of that narcotic is going into that patient before you do it, and what it is when it comes back to the pharmacy, where it's going to be disposed of. Prior to this, anyone can steal a narcotic out of a patient IV bag. So for 4 cents, I'm sorry, for pennies on the dollar in 4 seconds, and $30,000 a year leasing fee, essentially, what's not to love?
How big is it?
This big,
Oh, wow.
and it's a rocket.
And you're just now getting distribution
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah, it's really neat because we had, hospitals are a long sales cycle, I'll tell you that from experience. We had the Mayo Clinic take our device and put it up against a Swedish company's device. It's a UV spectrometer also, but it's quite a bit clunkier. It's 10 years older technology-wise than ours is. And when their device failed a sample, and the pharmacist called that location and said, "How come this failed?" They couldn't tell them. The reason they couldn't tell them is they don't have any experience with pharmacists. They might have experience with chemists. Pharmacists aren't chemists. They're not chemists. That's a sad fact, but that's the case. We've been doing this for 15 years now. So when they call us and say, how come this failed, we can tell them. Guess who won? Mayo Clinic's got 2 now, and once they finish their application, they want to put an application on top of the DVX. They'll have it in 28 more hospitals. We're hoping that's a tipping point for the DVX. Yes, sir.
So what is the major advantage of this device over, say, a UV Vis from Shimadzu or something like that, where you have a cuvette and you dilute your sample, you put it in, and you take a spectrum?
You said the magic word, dilute. You want a pharmacist to dilute something, you're asking for trouble.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you right now, those cough medicine bottles with little, they're plastic and they got the little gradations on the side. They actually use those and think they're accurate.
Makes sense. Yeah, there's
Thumbs down. They think syringes are accurate. Did you know they're off by 10%?
10%. Wow.
Up to 10%. Yeah.
This is all I was
When they use
doing.
when they use a beaker with a thick white line around it,
Yeah.
it's not even close. But when we get them, though, we educate them. And we've got a program called CQI, Continuous Quality Improvement. FDA loves it. We're, knock on wood. The FDA can really make your life hell. We're kind of like the go-to lab for the FDA. They'll tell their pharmacists and hospitals, you did a good lab, you got to go to Time, because the other labs don't take the burger to give you.
Any more questions? Yeah. go ahead.
So how do you protect your intellectual property? I mean, this is a great device invention. So, I mean, I'm sure you patented all that, but what other measures do you take to?
Well, we're lucky. With the DVX, we have 2 patents on it, one for business process and one for how it functions internally. But it's a spectrometer, like Ben just mentioned here. It's just a spectrometer. The algorithms that we have are not public. I mean, it's like Coca-Cola's.
Basically, right?
You're not going to find out what
Right,
it is.
makes sense.
Also, even if you guys all put together a company that manufactures these, you still wouldn't have the experience that we've got with pharmacists. They're really good at what they know as far as what a drug does in the body, but not one of them, not very many of them have ever had quantitative analysis. And that's what separates the professionals from the amateurs when it comes to chemistry. Yes, ma'am.
Was there some specifics working with the FDA that would help us, that you learned?
They've got a lot of guidelines, pay attention to those, but understand that with the FDA, if it's something they haven't run up against, like compounding pharmacists is a great example. Every pharmacist in the country is allowed to compound. The FDA doesn't have any jurisdiction over them, and that makes the FDA crazy. And here's why. The FDA and Big Pharma swap executives. Big Pharma doesn't like compounders because for that $150 injection of hyaluronidase that Wyeth used to make, Wyeth stopped making that, and they have another product that doesn't do anything different. It's just a different patent. The patent's in force. That's a $2,000 injection. Who do you think the FDA is going to hate? Pharmacists, because they can take what a doctor wants and produce it for them per patient. I don't know if that answer your question, but it's if you get into
That was
if you-
helpful, I just wondered if there were some hoops that you jumped through that
oh,
you
when
might.
they come in and
you know,
inspect us, we do not resist. Take a look, whatever. We're here to help, and some of our lab competitors, our competing labs, will actually try to take them to task. No, if they say we're going to do this, we're going to do that. If they say, no, let's change it for the next inspection, we're going to change it, whatever they want, because they're the ones ultimately responsible for the mass protection of the country's population. We don't want them putting us out of business.
What was the percentage of insurance versus just regular insuring a product on the market for working with medical? What kind of insurance for your kind of product? You know,
For
liability insurance.
for the
I mean,
DBX?
it must just go crazy compared to.
It's pretty substantial, but it's under $20,000. It's pretty much just our general liability directors and officers, errors and omissions. That's the big one. And now we've got a new one added on. It's basically media insurance. So if somebody were to hack into it and make it not work, we need to be protected against that. Other than that, each unit goes out with a $500 price tag on it, 2 Dynalabs, in case of theft or what have you. So it's pretty reasonable. It really is, because all it does, it's just a chemistry test. We're not treating anyone. We're not diagnosing anything. It's just a chemistry test at the end of the day.
So is it regulated, it's a 510K or?
No, but we're gonna file is it an investigational new drug?
Yeah, IND.
Yeah, IND. Yeah, we're gonna.
IND.
No, it's a master drug file.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're gonna file a master drug file just in case the FDA decides they want to regulate that.
Okay.
I can't see why. The DEA loves it. They'd like to see it become de rigueur. Every hospital have one.
Okay.
But it does a whole lot more than just drug diversion monitoring. Let me give you an example. In December 2014, a 65-year-old lady having a grand mal seizure shows up at an ER at a hospital in Bend, Oregon. The attending ER physician wrote a prescription for injectable fosphenytoin, which will stop the seizure, injected IV. Sent her up to the hospital pharmacy. They needed to prepare a stat. They did. The pharmacist took a look at what the technician put together, signed off on it, sent it down. And the nurses put the lady in a nice quiet room and hooked her up to an IV and walked out. She died. What they gave her was rocuronium. It's a skeletal muscle relaxant that makes tubocurari look like water. She couldn't scream. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't blink because it paralyzed every muscle in her body. Now, if they would have tested that before they gave her, they would have seen that it wasn't fosphenytoin. You can't read rocuronium on a UV vis. You can read fosphenytoin. So by process of elimination, you're going to know this IV was dead. Yeah. So she died. That's what we're trying to do with the UV vis, prevent that from happening.
More questions? Yes.
So all the examples you've given are for liquid drugs that are compounded at the pharmacy. Can the DDX be used to test tablets to make sure they're the correct thing also?
Once this gets off the ground, that model will make it to the stage. Yes, we can. Yeah, it's a different light wave. It's near infrared, possibly Raman, but we can do it. Yeah,
Does that require the pharmacist to grind it up and dilute it, or is it?
not if we do it right. We should be able to read through a capsule, enteric coating, into a cream, and bounce it like that. Yeah, we've got 2 of the best developers in the world. John Coates is a fellow who took it from beginning to end. He's originally from the UK. He's worked for Mercedes-Benz, Boeing, Amoco, BP Amoco, and now Dynalabs. We got introduced to John by a fellow named Emil Churchak. Emil writes books in spectrum chemistry. He's one of our partners. We weren't stupid. We said, okay, we got a percentage for you, but you got to be with us. So, yeah, he's we call him Shecky Churchill. He's one line up every time.
So you make it here too in U.S., the DDX. You assemble and make it in the States too.
Yeah, it's all made in Delaware. Two chemical engineers from Missouri own the company in Delaware that manufacture this for us. So, kind of a full circle, I like that.
Yeah, so a great hidden gem here in St. Louis. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So is this really restricted to pharmaceutical or chemicals or other industries? How, I mean,
The DVX?
yes.
It can be applied to anything. Yeah, as long as you develop the database to test against, you can, UV-Vis can work on just about anything. As long as it's liquid, as long as you understand the limitations of it.
Because food and drug industry, I mean, like, they have an expiry date on things, right?
Right.
On their can, say, for example, right?
Right.
And there is nothing to track all that stuff.
No. This doesn't track that, but it can, and it's not stability indicating. That's one thing that UV-Vis and NIR are not. You need an HPLC or UPLC or a mass spec to look for stability. We can tell a little bit of a difference when something's gone over the edge with the UV-Vis, but the difference in the peak height retention and where they're scattered on an HPLC versus a UV-Vis, it just shows you this is broken down. I do have an issue with the 2-year mandatory. You don't stand a prayer keeping it longer than 2 years of your shelf thing. I mean, water is a 2-year expiration date. How does that happen? It doesn't make sense.
All right, so I know there's,
So,
go ahead.
I mean, like, I'm from India, originally from India. There is nothing like an expiry date there. So, you know,
This
could be a really good thing where if
Yes.
you could really expand on those lines.
We've got a company here in Missouri that is convinced they can manufacture a miniature HPLC. Now, once we get this off the ground, we're going to talk to those guys again for just that reason. Or that'd be one of the reasons. We don't know. Okay, it's beyond our capabilities. But they're here in St. Louis. I'm sorry, they're here in Springfield, Missouri, and they're really bright guys. That's a possibility. Yeah, but did you know that expiration dates weren't required in this country until about the late 70s? And guess why? Pharmacists. Yeah.
My husband works with those guys and is on their website in Springfield. We just came in from Springfield.
Do you know what I'm talking about? You don't? Are they? We haven't spoken with them in a couple of years. How they doing? Okay. Yeah.
And you run the Inventors Association down in St. Louis, I mean, Springfield.
Yeah.
So anybody want to go down to Springfield to your meetings, you still have them monthly, right?
Yes, we do.
I appreciate you driving all the way up here just for 1 hour.
First Sunday of every month.
At 2 o'clock in the
First-
library center.
Okay, well, you gotta meet, after Zora, I know there's gonna be a line of people talking to Mike. I wanna bring Robb Mourton up, to talk about your invention real quick, and then we'll hurry this through, and then we'll probably be kicked out of here at 8 o'clock. But we can network outside and downstairs on the first floor, as long as we need to. We'll, corner Mike in the corner, and Robb too, probably after he gets done with his presentation. He just came back to Missouri from Texas. You're serving down there.
Yeah.
I'll let you share your story and your awesome invention, which is also made in St. Louis.
It is.
Go for it.
Thanks. So my name is Robb Mourton. I'm the owner of MOCHTECH. And my invention is the MITS. It's called the Multi-Injection Training System. And it's one of those inventions that was born out of necessity. So back in 2003, mobilized with the Army. I'm a tactical medic. And we had to train literally thousands of soldiers how to give IVs. And it's just not medical soldiers, and everybody had to learn how to do it. And back then, the supply and demand was horrible. So we had nothing to work with, literally. So as an occupational therapist, that's what I was doing before I was mobilized. I used my skills, went out, bought PVC pipe, bought some foam, bought some tubing, threw it all together, and I made a little basic little IV kit. And I made enough of those, and I practiced with the soldiers going over. And it proved to be very, very effective. In fact, there was an 85 to 95% success rate for everyone who went and used it to come back to get first-time sticks on an actual arm. So we could validate them and send them over. Modified into this. This is the tactical model. It's made out of aircraft aluminum, anodized. It's made here in St. Louis. And my partner, Doug Churovich, is a patent attorney. He looked at this when I brought it to him, felt that this was the time he wanted to go into a contingency agreement, him and his law firm, for the first time ever. And we produced this. And it's taken some time. I don't think I was ever really discouraged where I was kind of low, Doug was kind of high. He used his engineer prowess and went in and we started to modify what was a piece of plastic into something that ended up into this model here first. Basically what you do is you unscrew the ends and pull out the syringe. It's very simple. You fill the syringe with pressurized fluid, you pressurize the red vein. The medic or the student comes up and hits the red vein, gets a flashback into the needle, and you've actually validated that stick. To get to that point, there's a rolling vein and a static vein. You practice on these blue veins, so it's color coordinated. In between the blue vein is a port. So one of the things that I was trying to achieve was all the points as a combat medic when I go through and I train, there's 7 things I got to know how to do. Needle decompression for tension pneumothorax, I got to give an IV, I got to know how to pack wounds, I got to know how to put on tourniquets. I wanted this to do as much as possible without going overboard. One, because I thought it was kind of cool as a medic to have something like this. 2, I wanted to serve that training because we have such tight schedules to go through the training and make it as simple as possible. In the military, we try to train everything at the 6th grade level education. So I can honestly say that any one of you coming up here in 35, 40 minutes of practicing on this, I give you both my arms. That's how simplified we made it. Okay. Seriously.
So when I go give blood, I can give that to the nurse to practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this was a lot of going back and forth between somebody who's an engineer who's got a very logical mindset and somebody who's very creative, and I'm a medic, right? He wanted it to be precise, and I wanted it to serve the point. I wanted it to not necessarily have to look like an arm. A lot of my competition out there, I'll be honest with you, they're now making these $1,000 sim bodies that'll do just about everything. That's not the point. You can't put that sim body in your pocket and take it down the range and train up another medic or train up another soldier that may need to know how to do this. The other thought was if we go over to another country, we got to train up them. We're not going to be giving them $1,000, $2,000 sim arms. We need to give them something that's functional that they can put in their pocket and then take with them as a goodwill gesture. Okay? So when I approached the military with this, like I said, the last year I spent on active duty, actually deploying and training soldiers going over in combat medic and combat lifesaver. We practiced on this. And it kind of validated what I was hoping it would do, and that is getting those medics who hadn't stuck in a while, especially in the reserve and National Guard forces, when they get brought up, they may be a manager at a subway. They've not stuck anybody in 4 years. So they come back in and they want to practice on something. Yes, we do have those big, huge arms, we do. But they're not as effective because I can't say, hey, take kids back to the barracks and practice on it. So that's what I did with these. I brought down 50 units and I handed them out, and I was getting 100% sticks. It was just that validation. So I got good video of these, our warriors training on this stuff, learning how to do it, and just feeling that confidence and going over. And what's cool about it is that we just don't put our arms out. We actually throw them out in the desert. We actually have live casualties out there, believe it or not, all mulattoed up like you wouldn't believe. And they actually have to do a good stick to save their life. Otherwise, they're not validated. So we're actually using this to train them up prior to validation. The cool part about it, like I said, is that it's so functional and small, you can put it in your cargo pocket and take it anywhere. So we wanted to take it to the next level. One of the other things that we do is learn how to pack wounds. We use a clotting agent, Hemcon, combat gauze. So I wanted to create a port. I talked to Z-Medica, the maker of combat gauze, and they said, absolutely, if you could make a combat a port where we could shove combat gauze in, we'll go ahead and give you the blessing that you can train that for the military. So I came up with another port. And on top of that port, I had to problem solve this. I want to make it look real. So now we're going to simulate a wound that'll peg in, that the skin will go over, or it may not go over. We can do another apparatus that'll simulate for emergency crike, or we can do an IO, which is interosteo, and all that stuff can be done on this unit. So everything that you need to learn how to be a combat medic or combat lifesaver can be done in this unit, and you can put it in your pocket, and you can take it with you. Keeping that next gen, wanting to go next gen, we created one out of plastic. So we actually bought the molds, had the molds made, bought the molds. We created that skin, by the way. We went through about 100 to 150 different types of skin. I wanted to get that perfect texture for the sticking, but it's also, you can also suture on it. So now I've hit phlebotomists, doctors, nurses, EMTs, paramedics, the whole gamut of the military, anyone who's got to learn how to do this. And I've given them a product that they can take with them.
So what are your needs now? What do you need next to be?
Right now,
successful?
as I said, I just spent the last year on active duty. I got the government, they're looking at it, they're testing it. Belgium just bought 10 units, but I'm looking for marketing, and we're looking for investors. Then we're going to take this to the next level. So the government's interested. We already have our NSN number on it. We have our DAPN number, so it's already in the system to order. So now we need to take it to the next phase. Civilian, on the civilian side, I'm talking to nursing schools. I'll be talking to SCLU about getting it into their programs. So that's where we're really at. Everything's made here in St. Louis. So.
Great. Any question? Yes.
Yes.
Is there any chance the Red Cross might start using these?
Absolutely. Any place, anybody, veterinarians, phlebotomists, anybody who would have a need to learn how to stick or to keep that skill going up. I was talking to Metro West about giving them a couple of these for the paramedics. Anybody who has to learn how to stick. It's a perfect product, especially if you're training, if you got a school you got to train. So there's a plastic model, or we call it our schoolhouse model, composite plastic model, that sells for $125. Then we have our tactical model. That sells for $395 for the advanced. So.
Any more questions?
You gotta make a kids game out of it.
So Rob, you have a website?
Well, our website is down right now. Well, actually, it's a static website. It's mochtech.com, www.mochtech.com.
It's spelled Moch.
Moch, M-O-C-H.
M-O-C-H.
T-E-K, Mochtech. I got cards too. Yeah. So here's a funny quick story. I started in the St. Louis startup in 2013. I was one of the first, I think, 280. My company at that time was Tactical Care Concept. I was trying to get across the need to learn how to do trauma medicine, TC3, to civilians. And it didn't go over very well. But it's funny because now there's 4 companies in the St. Louis market that teach this. And especially with something like what happened in Las Vegas, everyone wants to learn how to do the trauma medicine. I was kind of disappointed because I didn't get where I thought I would be. But had I really, just let that take me down the road, I never would have got to this. I just transitioned. Everything has a time and a place and a purpose, and this just fit. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll just network. I mean, everybody get up and talk to Mike and Rob and whoever else. And thanks for coming, everybody, to the Inventors Association.